Absolute definitely the least really generally particularly possible diploma of 016 the TRX fee may basically really mostly want to actually mostly for the most part arrive at a pretty particularly maximum excessive actually very actually possible diploma of 018 with the everyday gauge fee of 017 TRX value conjecture, June 2024 in June 2024, the fee of Tron generally really is expected to definitely be at round a base really well, generally pretty particularly worth of 016, the Tron price really well, sort of particularly worth can generally really basically arrive at a restrictive 019. With the everyday replacing really well fairly very worth of 017. In US TRX value gauge July 2024 and July 2024, the fee of Tron mostly actually is expected to literally for all intents and purposes, be at round a base really well for all intents and purposes particularly worth of 017 the Tron price really well really basically worth can for all intents and purposes generally specifically arrive at a restrictive 020 with the everyday replacing really well actually sort of fairly worth of 018 and US Tron TRX value expectation August 2024 with essentially specifically mostly admire to August 2024 Tron fee literally specifically is gauged to literally kind of reach at a for all intents and purposes sort of the least definitely possible diploma of 018 the TRX fee may particularly really for the most part want to definitely really basically arrive at a really the basically the literally the best very possible diploma of 020 with the everyday conjecture fee of 018 TRX value figure September 2024 and September 2024, the fee of Tron particularly is expected to basically for all intents and purposes definitely be at round a base really well definitely generally worth of 018, the Tron price really well basically definitely basically worth can mostly actually basically arrive at a restrictive 021. With the everyday replacing really well basically sort of really worth of 019. In US Tron TRX value expectation October 2024, with kind of admire to October 2024 Tron fee, really particularly is parent to kind of mostly reach at a kind of fairly maximum kind of actually minimum fairly definitely fairly possible diploma of 019. The TRX fee may essentially generally mostly want to literally mostly generally arrive at a really maximum excessive possible diploma of 022. With the everyday gauge fee of 020 Tron value forecast November 2024, the fee of Tron particularly mostly really is expected to particularly actually attain at the hardly the sort of the least really well for all intents and purposes worth of 019 in 2024, the TRX fee may specifically for all intents and purposes definitely want to actually particularly arrive at a very generally maximum excessive really well for all intents and purposes generally definitely worth of 023, with the everyday replacing fee of 020. At some point of 2024 Tron value forecast December 2024, the fee sort of pretty possible TRX value figure January 2025 in January 2025, the fee of Tron mostly generally definitely is expected to mostly for all intents and purposes literally be at round a base really well, fairly actually particularly worth of 020. The Tron price really well definitely actually worth can kind of specifically actually arrive at a restrictive 023 with the everyday replacing really well pretty definitely basically worth of 022. In US Tron value expectation February 2025, the fee of Tron kind of mostly really is expected to essentially definitely attain at any charge really well fairly particularly for all intents and purposes worth of 021 in 2025. The TRX fee may specifically particularly want to generally arrive at a definitely pretty very maximum excessive, really well, pretty fairly very worth of 024 with the everyday replacing fee of 022 at some point of 2025 TRX value estimate, kind of mostly basically walk 2025 in literally actually really walk 2025, the fee of Tron literally generally really is really literally for all intents and purposes, decided to generally really particularly be at round a base really well, kind of actually worth of 0.22. The Tron price really well actually generally particularly worth can basically generally for all intents and purposes arrive at a restrictive 0.24, with the everyday replacing really well pretty sort of actually worth of 0.23. In Tron TRX value figure April 2025 for April, the fee of Tron actually particularly specifically is expected to actually mostly particularly reach at a definitely fairly basically standard month to month, kind of the really the very much the furthest specifically kind of reaches of 0.24, at the same time as the coin will trade among a restrictive 0.25 and at the literally the definitely the least 0.23 Tron value forecast May 2025. The fee of Tron really for the most part, mostly is expected to mostly for all intents and purposes attain at any charge really well actually definitely basically worth of 0.24 in 2025. The TRX fee may really actually want to actually basically specifically arrive at a fairly particularly fairly maximum excessive, really well generally basically worth of 0.26, with the everyday replacing fee of 0.25 at some point of 2025 TRX value conjecture, June 2025 and June 2025. The fee of Tron basically essentially is gauged to mostly generally basically be at round a base really well, kind of pretty worth of 0.24. The Tron price really well for all intents and purposes pretty worth can essentially for all intents and purposes arrive at a restrictive 0.27 with the everyday replacing really well particularly fairly kind of worth of 0.25 in Tron value, forecast July 2025. The fee of Tron specifically kind of is expected to for the most part kind of attain at any charge, really well actually worth of 0.25 in 2025. The TRX fee may mostly want to specifically basically for all intents and purposes arrive at almost the sort of the best really well pretty sort of worth of 0.29, with the everyday replacing fee of 0.26 at some point of 2025 Tron TRX value expectation, August 2025, concerning August 2025 Tron fee, literally is gauged to basically specifically reach at a kind of the really the definitely the least very possible diploma of 0.26.